They're mad empaths. That's a good name for a band. Mad empaths.
I want to comment on this gentleman's his observation about front porches, and I've seen it quite a bit. Is that although people do have front porches now, everyone congregates on the back deck. It's like there's so much going on in our lives, we want to get away from contact with other people and just cocoon. But originally I was going to talk about, I'm living with one of those knuckleheads you spoke about, which is my brother. And he's polar opposite of me politically and spiritually and all that. And he wants me to watch Bill O'Reilly, and we do it, but he has a lot of anger. He'll just get so upset, and I want to respond with anger, but anger just feeds on anger. So what I try and do is diffuse the situation just to listen, and then maybe the Socratic method of asking questions instead of saying you're a bonehead. And that's my practice to do that, because I want to get angry and get right in his face, but it doesn't do any good, and I can't change his mind. But by asking questions and getting a little deeper, you get beyond the generalities and you get into specifics, and you find that we actually share some views. If you get far enough down the argument, you realize that. So I think...
What does it make you think about, though, in terms of just your relationship with him? I mean, how does that feel? Does it feel like we were kids together, we've grown far apart, even though we live together? I mean, that's what I'm talking about in terms of empath.
Yeah, I love him dearly, and we get along and we can laugh about it, but the one thing, it's him and other people I meet that share this really flipped out view of the world I run into more and more. It's that you can't argue with them. What you can do is say, where do we agree?
Right. Yeah. And then again, I think, see, that I agree that it's been coming for a long time, but somehow this year, or maybe I'm just making it up for context, somehow this year with the chaos of the energy, and I tried to talk to you about this at the Qigong thing, but somewhere 2012, and with this insanity with the presidential, conversation, it feels like, it's time to everyone just go, okay, chill. How do we feel as a species about us? Is this, I don't think everyone is necessarily a sentient being. Is that right? Is that how you say that word? Sentient? Sentient? Is that right? I always mess that up. But it feels like, again, present company, excluded. You guys are here, we're here, we're trying to work on this. We are seekers, we are skeptics, we're thinkers, we're spiritualists, we're here for love. And man, you go out there and it's like, and you can bring that with you, you can be that, you can have that energy, and up to a point, and then you are dealing with, Rick Santorum, which is a little soul killing. I'm sorry. That's why I'm here. That's really why I'm here. I just wanted to see some friendly faces. God, there's so many horrible things. Rhonda Battisto, everyone. She's a genius healer. I love her.
Good morning. I certainly didn't come to speak, but just what you just said prompts me to say there is no they and we.
Right.
And that attitude is what creates more of the perception of they and we.
Right on.
So the
oneness always.
The way to connect is to feel connected.
Right, right.
And find the commonalities and ask the questions and go to the front porch and do meditation. I mean, we've got it.
Right on. Right.
And it is mindset. The connection is there whether we acknowledge it or not.
Right.
The oneness is there whether we acknowledge it or not. I think the key is acknowledging it for ourselves. We can't convince anyone else to acknowledge it.
Right. Can I ask you, why do you think that I continually do that? Because this is our third conversation.
Jim, I haven't known you long enough to know that.
No, I mean, why do people, knowing that, going forward, doing all that we're doing, create an us and them scenario when there really shouldn't be.
Because we want to feel right.
Right. We want to feel right?
We want to feel right. I know...
Like my path, their path, silly, my path.
Yeah,
right.
and,
Okay,
and I
right.
think that acknowledging that everyone has their own path and their own pace and their own perspective
Rick Santorum.
gives us freedom.
Right.
Gives us freedom for pursuing our own and for not having to make everyone else like us in order to love them.
Right on. Right.
And then you would have to acknowledge the
Exactly. Yes. Well, exactly. Exactly. And that's the, you know, I'm looking for the Rick Santorum in me right now.
Well, that's what came to me when you said, why do we make it us and them? It's if it's not us and them, if it's only we, then we have to acknowledge the things in us
Right.
that we see in other people, and that's really difficult to do.
Right. But it's really obvious when you do it. It's so obvious, you know, why. You know, it's Rick Santorum wants to change the world, and who doesn't? So.
Well, there's the key between
Exactly.
us. We all want to change
Right.
the world.
Right.
And I can only think, when you said earlier, how do you deal with it? I keep thinking, I had this discussion last night. I stumbled across that, oh my gosh, I'm an empath label a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at my stepdaughter, who I think is also very empathic, about half my age, and she's at the point I was in that point of my life, struggling with deadening herself using drugs and alcohol, and gaining some semblance of control, which goes to speak to the woman who talked about an eating disorder earlier. So she's in that, I either want control or I want to deaden myself because I can't deal with this. And I think the one thing you need to find is, to start to be empathic, is to find a safe place to be empathic.
Right.
And feel safe dealing
Right.
with it, and then you can take that out into the world.
Right on. Right. I guess that's what I'm asking, sort of. You know, and it's like, it is energy work too, because it's like, if you splay yourself out into the world with your empathness, you know, you'll, again, drown in the lake. Yeah.
Hi, Rhonda. It's so nice to see you.
The energy is good.
So I think a number of things that have been said really popped for me today. One is the importance of meditation or quieting down, so we can take a break and just listen, because you know, we all get swept up. It's so very easy to just get taken away by the list, right? The list of things that need to be done. And, you know, I just have some little mini successes in the last, probably month of meditating for like 15 minutes every weekday. And that's a huge success. I've been trying to do that for a long time. And what I noticed is by just being quiet, it seems like I'm opening up to seeing something bigger than just my limited viewpoint. So for example, I go to a 12-step group, and a gentleman came in and he was in a very desperate situation. And I mean, it was not pretty. It was probably one of the worst days of his life. And when I left that meeting, I was actually overwhelmed by, this is the best day of this guy's life. And it was like, even though on the surface I could look at him and say, oh, this is so sad for him, when we stop and take a step back and look at it, it's like you can see these things as doorways to something greater.
Cool. Yeah.
And I find myself wondering if everything leads to a really beautiful story. You know, there might be really sad, ugly, difficult components to observe, but it gets you to someplace else.
Right. I think that, I mean, to use you as an example of an empath and an empath path, you know, think of that. I think this was what happened. You meditated. You went to the meeting, right? Saw this guy, and was able to, because of the stillness of your mind, perhaps, probably, as well as your own disposition for empathy, you were able to step back and go, you know, you're on your way, man.
Yeah.
You know, and that you know, that's a gift, and that's something to nurture, I think, you know. And it's not an opinion, you know, that you're giving this person, but you gave him something out of your empathy. That's cool. It's really cool. So, anything else? Now what are we doing?
Okay. One more?
I think it was interesting. I've just started delving into more of the metaphysics or this type of thing, working, and I've worked with my clients in my chemical health work, talking about being mindful and some concrete things that we try to incorporate with them in their treatment. So I did a 2-minute meditation with them, set the egg timer, had them sit down, do a meditation. And I think for a lot of people, it's very hard to clear their mind, even for a 2-minute meditation. And I think that's what we've gotten away from, is we've gotten away from doing that meditation. I think if we do a lot more of that, as individuals, as collectiveness, whatever, I think that's when we're going to start opening up and becoming more empathetic towards other people. We've deadened ourselves to so many things out there that even when people have tried to take the time to be meditative, they can't, because all the monkey chatter that's going on in their heads.
Right.
And they don't know what to do with that monkey chatter. So instead of dealing with it and going through the steps of meditation, they just refuse to. So that the very thing that's going to help them the most, they choose not to do. Or they make excuses not to do that. And so I see this, and I see it in my own life, that I make excuses that I shouldn't meditate, that I have this or this, or I have those lists
meditation
to
is
do.
boring.
Exactly. But
if you think of it like that.
But I think it's...
If you think, I get to go home and meditate tonight, or I get to wake up tomorrow morning and meditate, it's a whole mindset. Like, you know, I mean, not to interrupt, but that's part of what's the problem, you know, that isn't something that's looked forward to like dessert. Oh, my mind, I can learn how to still my mind, you know. So maybe the answer to all of this is just kind of like I say this, you know, all the time to friends. Stay warm, you know. By any means necessary, stay warm. And, you know, continue cultivating those gifts that make you connect with people in a real way. And, yeah, I'm going to keep writing about it. I'm going to keep, I think the word is interesting, empath. And there's one book on it, you know, and it's just, you know, there's not much more to say about it, I don't think, but maybe there is. So, thanks for having me. And
Okay, thank you so much.